This is Asia's Farm to Fork 5 Good Questions podcast, bringing you insights and views from across Asia's food value chain. Now, for today's interview. Hi again, everybody. I'm Duke Hipp, host of Asia's Farm to Fork 5 Good Questions podcast. Got another great guest with us today. We're joined by Paul Luxton, head of Asia with Syngenta. Hi, Paul.
G'day, Duke. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us today.
Good.
We've got hopefully have a good conversation, a few questions to go through, and look forward to the discussion.
Great.
So we'll jump right in if it's okay. So with the first question, I wanted to pick your brain about a particular crop, actually, a strategic crop globally, but particularly in this part of the world. That's rice. There's quite a bit of news recently around the different data points with respect to rice and what's happening right now. First of all, it is a huge player with respect to food security in Asia. We know that it delivers roughly half of the calorie intake for Southeast Asia in particular. And as cultivation is part of this part of the world is facing increasing economic, political, weather-related pressures, we certainly know that as well through climate change and other challenges that farmers are facing. Just a couple of years ago, the global rice shortage exceeded 8.5 million tons. It's the largest disparity in almost 2 decades, and it resulted in higher prices for those who really depend on it the most. So, and in fact, there was an article recently that highlighted the challenge and referred to it as a rice crisis and a ticking time bomb. So, some pretty strong language. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Can the time bomb be diffused? Is there an innovative approach to this, agricultural technologies perhaps that can be brought to bear? And again, perhaps technologies like those of Syngenta's that should be part of the solution.
Great. Look, heck of an opening question. And I'm not quite sure how long we've got, but this could take quite some time. I think, you raised some really interesting concerns, given rice is such a important crop, as you mentioned, across Asia. And, you'd see it as a cornerstone of the Asian food systems. It's of huge economic importance. It contributes greatly to agricultural GDP in the countries that we're referring to. It's vitally important for exports from certain countries. And of course, smallholder farmer incomes are dependent on rice. It's not only that too, it's as you mentioned, such a big crop from a point of view of food security, from the perspective of employment, political stability. All these things just highlight what you said about it being such a important crop. And they are facing some significant challenges. I mean, again, you mentioned a few of these in the introduction around climate change impacts, the challenges around water scarcity, land degradation, pest and disease control, which we know all too well. And then, of course, you've got not as many people wanting to work on the land. So there's labor challenges, economic challenges. So look, a whole lot of areas that are very, very challenging. Coming back to what Syngenta's approach is, we launched our new sustainability priorities a while back. And I guess one of the things that underpins that is how do we create or get higher yields with lower impact on the environment? And by doing that, with the introduction of, say, better, smarter, newer chemistry or newer technologies, newer varieties, hopefully we can start to transform towards those higher yields with lower impact, which of course has a lot of benefits around improving rural prosperity and just enhancing the sustainability of the operations. So for us, it's very much about a focus on innovation and a focus on technology. I think we see this too through what we call our Grow More protocol, which is the portfolio or the integrated crop management techniques that we bring to the likes of the rice growers across Asia. And this really incorporates, a lot of our technologies, but also others around things like precision agriculture. It also means, how do we bring digital capability and connectivity to these parts of the world so that we can make better informed decisions, or help our growers more to the point to make better informed decisions about planting, about pest management, about harvesting, all those things that hopefully will lead, as I said before, to improved yields and reduced losses. I think another key part in this part of the world is around how do we build capacity in terms of, say, farmer education and knowledge. And we see ourselves as being a a responsibility, I guess you'd say, to empower farmers with knowledge and skills so that they can adopt the best practices and the best technologies to be more effective in what they do. Um, as I said, this is quite a lengthy answer, but I can think of a few other things too, and particularly around the value of partnerships. Collaborating with, say, government or research institutions and other stakeholders to help address some of these challenges around rice productivity and rice production. I can probably point to an example that we've had in Korea of late, and again around our Grow More protocols. We've actually been able to, through the use of a crop protection program, we've been able to increase yields by 20%. We've had 30% savings in labour costs and lower residues due to the use of less crop protection products or the very targeted application of those products, but also the use of newer sort of more environmentally kind products that we're bringing to our portfolio. So I guess, if I wrap all that up, what we're really looking at is how do we combine the technologies, the sustainable practices, the partnerships, with the overall goal of trying to make Asia more self-sufficient when it comes to rice and rice production, which we believe will build a much stronger agricultural system and, of course, strengthen local communities. So quite a lengthy answer, I'm afraid, but
yeah. No, it's a great answer. And a lot of things there to get into. And hopefully with the next couple of questions, we'll get into these in more detail. One of the things I wanted to touch on just briefly was you mentioned, at the beginning of the answer about environmental focus as well as sustainability, as well as driving higher yield. So, and I think there's sort of a mindset that it's an either or proposition, and it's one of the things we get into this podcast quite a bit on. It's not, right? I mean, it's not, we can't do both at the same time. We have to do both at the same time. So glad you touched on that. And then also the smallholder. Really can't tell the story here in Asia without talking about the smallholder, and so much there. I want to, we can get into that as well. In fact, if you're okay, the second question I really wanted to talk about gets into more the perspective of the smallholder, and you get your thoughts on that. We're sitting here in Asia, of course. This is home to this. This is the home to most smallholders anywhere in the world, smallest size farms anywhere in the world, right here in Asia. They face so many challenges beyond even just the obvious landholder rights issues, access to finance, availability of technology, quality inputs generally. So just a number of issues factoring the climate change. And as you said earlier, the increasing number of pests, disease, and weeds to contend with. And it's just a very, very difficult, challenging job. How can we do a better job, collectively? I think across both private, public sector, civil society, what can we do to help put the smallholders really first and their perspective, their consideration first?
Look, I think, again, a very big question in so many ways. The smallholder agriculture, whilst very, very different, there are some similarities to the rest of the world. And I think being able to bring some of the technologies that a company like Syngenta can develop elsewhere into smallholder agriculture is a really key, I think will be a long-term benefit for smallholder agriculture. And I guess what I'm referring to here are some of the things I've already mentioned. How do we leverage digital and digital connectivity and digital empowerment? And I guess what I'm really thinking there is things like the CropWise Grower app. These apps allow growers to have real-time access to weather information, pest alerts, best practices, weed and pest identification. And so being able to put these tools into the hands of smallholders to help them see what the challenges are in real time are one of the things that we can do, and leveraging off that technology from a global perspective. I touched before on capacity or capability building, and certainly a lot of work that our teams do in the field is very much about farmer training and having farmer training centers across Asia, focusing on best practice, best agricultural practice, best agronomy techniques, and obviously also around sustainable farming practices. I think there's a big role to play in terms of women and women empowerment. I've seen firsthand in the short time that I've been in Asia the important role that women farmers play. And I've seen it in particularly in Indonesia and Bangladesh, where I think offering more training and support for women farmers and making sure that you do that in the right way, in the culturally sensitive way for the countries, and making it fit for purpose is really important. Future technologies. There's no doubt that artificial intelligence or IoT, Internet of Things, is going to become more and more important, and it helps us to answer some of the questions quicker than what we perhaps are able to do now. And I feel this is going to be a revolution in the next few years, and it's something that we need to be able to work with and get into the hands again of the smallholders. There's so much potential and so much to be gained just by the training and the utilization of good agricultural practice, of good agronomic techniques, and then good products and or services to help the smallholders, get better at what they do. And I guess that's where, some of the Syngenta technologies come in. How do we tailor solutions for local conditions? I've often talked about us. I think we're quite lucky or privileged. It's not by luck. It's planned this way. But being able to bring the new innovations and the new technologies from our research facilities into these countries, be able to trial them under local conditions, and then release them to the growers for them to be able to do what they need to do to grow better. As I said before, to produce more, if you like, from less, is something that is a real focus for us. So those tailored solutions for local conditions, and that includes seed varieties as well. It's not just the crop protection side of things. I mentioned before the integrated pest management strategies. I think being able to develop varieties that are more drought tolerant and disease resistant. And last but not least is the ever increasingly important biological part of our business. And not just us, of course, others are doing this as well, but having this biological portfolio which can complement the rest of our portfolio is really, really important. And then seeing some of the benefits that brings from a soil health or a plant vigor perspective is something which is, again, I think really important for the smallholder across Asia.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a great answer. It sounds like the takeaway, more tools in the toolbox, right? More options for farmers, not fewer. And
Definitely.
yeah, we hear that all the time. And also, if you look around Asia, you see there's this disparity, I guess, or just difference between the amount of folks who are working in the labor force who are working in agriculture versus the amount contributed to GDP. And there's that missed opportunity that I think you're speaking to. So much opportunity that we're sitting on here in this part of the world. So. One of the words you've used a lot so far in the first couple of questions is partnerships. I'd like to maybe come back to you on that topic as well. If that's okay. One of the old sayings or old adage that gets used a lot, we talk about in this podcast quite a bit, is if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. And so you see more and more of going together. Thankfully, in this sector, a variety of different partnerships, diverse partnerships have been put together to help drive some of the type of initiatives that you've just mentioned earlier. Anything you can share in that space around partnerships? Maybe an example or two of a partnership you've seen firsthand that's really impactful, that's making a difference.
Yeah, look, we are seeing more and more, but I would challenge that we're still not seeing enough. I've been involved in agriculture now for over 30 years, and I know that no one player, organization, company can deliver everything that's required. The way to really succeed is to partner with like-minded organizations, because that synergistic effect you get is absolutely worth it. So I think in terms of the importance of collaboration and addressing some of these complex challenges, and then being able to leverage the diversity and the expertise that comes from building those partnerships is what I see as being really important. Partnerships help you to see the bigger picture. They help you to scale more quickly and more effectively. And often they keep you grounded on what's locally relevant. And I think that's really, really important. So there's a couple that I'll draw on. The first one would be Syngenta has a partnership with PepsiCo in Vietnam, which is all about boosting potato production. We recognize that the current yields are quite low by international standards. And by partnering with a company like PepsiCo, we feel we can really start to make a difference. We spend a lot of time with them training the PepsiCo grower network on technical aspects of our products, the safe use of our products, the effective use of crop protection. How do we use these products to improve yield, quality, and ultimately, we're after a return on investment. The partnership's goal is to scale up sustainable crop production And we're having some real wins with this in this particular program with PepsiCo in Vietnam. It's often centered around a couple of key products that provide really good disease control, which leads to more green leaf retention, which leads to higher yields because the plants are healthier for longer. And products like Amistar and Miravis have been really, really important in providing this additional control. So not only do they give really good disease management, they provide resistance management tools, they provide flexibility for the grower, improved, as I said, health and plant vigor, and effectively better marketability of the crop at the end of the day. And that results in a better ROI, or return on investment, for the farmer. So again, working in partnership, a lot of work around training, which I've mentioned a few times, is really important. But it's also about the utilization of modern products to bring those advantages into the hands of the growers. We've got another similar one with coffee in Vietnam Central Highlands, and this is with Louis Dreyfus, sorry. These initiatives target the key issues around a monocrop. We have been in one situation for a long time. It also helps with water utilization, soil degradation, and the overuse of certain products in a poor sort of landscape farming. So, this is a long-term view around sustainable coffee production. Our goals with the project are to transform the cultivation practices, promote resource efficiency, and enhance the soil health. This comprehensive approach sort of it not only tackles immediate concerns, but it's around the long-term sustainability. And we've got some new products coming through there, the likes of Veneva, which has got a great profile with respect to integrated pest management, again, resistance management, but also around soil health. So, look, it's just working again with known quality partners who have a similar objective and long-term goal. And, these things require, it's a bit of a, what's the word I'm after? It's a little bit of a well-worn adage, for want of a better word, about a win-win. But this, I guess, is win-win-win. If we can make sure that the value chain partner, ourselves, and the grower can all get something out of this through the partnership, that's what makes these things sticky. And the ones that I've mentioned have been pretty successful to date.
Yeah, thanks for that. No, those are great examples, and you're right. If you take a step back, we just don't see enough of them, and I think that's the challenge, is to help drive more and more of these partnerships where we accomplish something together, and as you said, it's a win-win-win for the partners who are involved. I want to ask a question for this is our fourth question. I wanted to touch on one that we used to, in the first season, we used to ask this question as sort of our exit question, but I think it's talked about today. We've been able to talk about, yes, the challenges, but also some of the opportunities. And I like to maybe stay on a more positive, discussion, thematic area around that topic, around what's positive, looking at the crystal ball, if you will, for a bit, forecasting into the future. If you look ahead by about 10 years or so, is there one big positive development that you would say, well, I could see this a good chance this could take place, maybe here in Asia, maybe globally, or other parts of the world? Just something that you can think of that you'd say, I can see this happening.
Yeah, it's another good question. I mean, there's a couple of things that come to mind. I know you asked for one, but there's two, and they're quite linked. And I think about the journey we've taken of late around sustainability and digital. And they're terms that are often thrown around, but people have different definitions for what they actually mean. But I really think that over the next 10 years, we're going to see both of these inherit their place, as I think that it's really important that they do, because I think we need them to be, if you like, realized. So for me, it's around the digital integration and AI, but also around sustainable food in the value chain. And why do I say that? I think this is going to help in terms of getting smart farming at scale. Digital will be one of the key tools with AI-driven decision making to help farmers make those decisions they need to be able to make faster, quicker, and deliver more impact. I think we're going to see things like increased traceability requirements. So blockchain enabled traceability. One of the fundamentals underpinning all of this and underpinning this area and global global agriculture is the requirement for food. Now, we know that we've got population growth. We know we need more food, and we know we've got a more discerning customer. So we've got to be able to meet the needs of the consumer and sort of work backwards. So this whole piece about the transparency required in the food's journey is going to be something. And I believe that AI, digital, and sustainability through the food chain will obviously help that. I think it'll also help in areas that will cut waste. So things like predictive supply chain management. We're going to see, advanced analytics in these areas, which is going to help with not just the forecasting of crop yields, but also helping us to work back in our supply chains around what's required. And that for me makes things more efficient. And when it's more efficient, it's more cost efficient. And that can be savings that are passed on through the value chain. Concepts such as personalized nutrition, climate smart agriculture, the digital tools that will enable farmers to adapt in real time to what's happening. We mentioned earlier on, and I should have probably mentioned it more importantly, things around financial services. Financial services for smallholder agriculture is really quite challenging. And so the utilization of digital connectivity to provide farmers with ready credit access is something I think is going to be really important. And I think it will get better and better. It's already taken some big strides in the last 5 years. I think it'll take some major strides in the next 10. And then this connection between the farmer and the consumer. It's quite interesting. I mean, again, I'm probably thinking more from a global perspective here, but everyone used to know a farmer in their family. Not everyone does these days. And I think that, but in some ways, consumers still want to know where it comes from. So being able to provide that sort of direct farmer consumer connection that people can see where it's coming from, how it's produced, they understand the pricing, they understand what fresh means. I think these are concepts which will be enhanced in the next while. I guess what's our role in some of that? In that we connect with farmers, and we connect with farmers through our CropWise platform, which is our digital platform, and we do that to be able to understand farmers better and for them to be able to access information better. It's about how do we integrate what we bring to the market around our crop protection, our seeds, or our biological solutions. And I see also through this benefits, if I go on to talk a bit more about the benefits of the digital transformation, these concepts around traceability, enhanced food security, improved farmer livelihoods, all these things start to snowball a bit towards what I think is a more effective and more hopefully understood future for the farmers.
Thank you. That's a great answer. Very thorough. I mean, that's a lot there. I'm just thinking we've heard from others on a variety of some of those same fronts, but AI not so much. And I'm thinking that's one we probably could do a whole episode thinking about what the implications, consequences, and the good and bad and opportunities that you just got into there. It's pretty exciting. I say we can
Look,
come back. Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a believer, I know there's lots of pros and cons or talked about around AI, but I'm also a big believer in that good technology will win through. And I think AI used for good has got some really important benefits. Challenging in some places, I absolutely acknowledge, but I think there's some very interesting benefits for agriculture in the future.
Yeah. No, I think you touched on it with driving greater efficiency and predictability and that's all very exciting to think about. I was going to say we can come back in 10 years and see if it's come to pass, but I guess the AI versions of you and me will come back and have that discussion maybe instead and let them hash it out. Well, last question. This is the exit question for this season, and it can be either the hardest question or the easiest question depending on how you look at it. We're asking our guest this season about food, specifically your favorite dishes, your favorite cuisines around this region. This region's got such a diverse and really delicious variety of foods that are available. And so, do you have a personal favorite maybe that stands out?
This depends on who's going to listen to the podcast. Um, I was in an interesting discussion the other day, and it was about who grows the best mangoes across Asia, and the other one was who grows the best durian. And I was in Malaysia at the time, and I had my first try on durian, and it actually wasn't too bad. The anticipation was worse than the actual the event. But look, I'd have to say we are spoilt in Asia. And I would have to say my new home of Thailand is just unbelievable when it comes to food, the freshness, the flavor, the vitality. It's just magic. So yeah, I think I'll go with the where I'm based.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. That's a good answer. And you're right. The mango debate will go on, I think, for quite a while. There's a lot of pride in the mangoes. Well, thank you for this. We're officially off the five good questions hot seat. Paul Luxton, thank you for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. And if you did, please rate, review, and subscribe. We look forward to bringing you another Five Good Questions interview